early days. Magar se bear, we say crocodile tears. So what I meant to say, jal mein reh ke magar se bear means that indicates crocodile in aquatic systems. They are very, very important to some of the fishes which otherwise are not able. So crocodile, I think when you crocodile tears, of course, we say they're the false tear, they're not coming out of emotion. There's a mechanism by which they go the overregulation and crocodile otherwise features and they have some advanced field start massing up with the natural ecosystem, and that itself causes threat to some of the most powerful animals. So the crocodiles were also not spared, and there was thought to have a conservation. And for that, Madras Crocodile Bank Trust is one of its own type, especially the Center for Herpetology. It promotes conservation of reptiles and amphibians and their habitat through education, scientific research, and captive breeding. The main focus is basically Indian species and ecosystem, but of course, it's not restricted to that. And it has both the components, in situ and ex situ components. I remember, I have seen a crocodile breeding. I don't know if that was really true. Once I was in Jaipur zoo at Jaipur, and there I saw very, very small crocodiles, hatchlings, and all these things. I don't know if they are still bred in Jaipur or not, but yes, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker can tell us what are the various places in India where the crocodile breeding is taken care. Without taking much of the time, we are all eager, we are all waiting for the visit to the crocodile and bank, and Mr. Whitaker will give a glimpse or will take to the virtual tour of the crocodile. Thank you, and with this, I can invite we can go for further proceedings of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, a couple of points. You had mentioned crocodile tears. That was actually observed in, I think, 200 BC in Nile crocodiles, and they are actually true. They do produce tears, and that seems to be a function of the lacrimal glands to lubricate the nictitating membrane. So it's and Jaipur Zoo we know very well, and Jaipur Zoo has the distinction of actually being probably the first place in the country to breed the marsh crocodile.
Yeah.
So,
and I could see all size, such small hatchlings, large, and for often I was a little scared if a crow come and pick a small and then it throw it, so it can come out. So I was a little worried that way, that how do they manage? But I could see all size. And another thing in crocodile, especially when we talk about the sex determination, I think all of you must be aware the temperature play a very, very important role, whether it's going to be male or female that way. So there are so many fascinating, they are very, very close to the mammals. If we look at the anatomical features, heart is four-chambered, the teeth are heterodont, they have thicker don't. There's so many fascinating facts about the crocodiles. Anyway, I know only a little bit, and of course you have expertise in this field. So we will be really willing, and students will certainly be benefited by your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shall we start? Should I start sharing? the screen.
Yeah, Gauri. Shushma, we can start.
Sir, we will like to welcome Sir formally, and then we will start.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words and such a beautiful speech. Now, I request teacher in charge of Zoology Department, Dr. Manisha Sengar, to share her thoughts with us about this event.
Thank you, Peter. A very bright morning to all of you. I, Dr. Manisha Sengar, on behalf of Department of Zoology, Deshbandhu College, welcome our principal, Professor Rajiv Agarwal, our Vice Principal, Sir, Professor Kamal Kumar Gupta, all the respected faculty members from various colleges, dear students, and our very eminent speaker for today's fascinating talk, Mr. Nikhil. Thank you so much for sparing your time out of your busy schedule to be here enlightening us by a wonderful virtual tour to the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust. Wildlife is an integral part of our planet, and it is really disheartening to know that today the biodiversity throughout the world is threatened due to extinction of various species. There are around 35 hotspots around the world with support like 43% of birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibians as endemic. One of the major resource for constant decline of the wildlife is our human activities, which are ever increasing, and there have been increasing demands, and there has been increasing greed, which have led to the destruction of the biodiversity. And if we want our future generations to enjoy the beauty of biodiversity, then we all need to take major steps right now. So without taking much of your time, dear students, and our very eminent speaker for the day, and without any further delays, I welcome you all to this virtual fascinating experience. Thank you so much, Peter. Over to you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you
Yes,
so much,
ma'am.
ma'am, for
Okay.
inspiring us. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your speech. Now I request Dr. Indrakant Singh, sir, DBT Star College Coordinator, to share some words with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, hosts and organizers, respected speakers, respected Vice Principal, sir, TIC, ma'am, and all my dear colleagues and dearest students. Thank you so much for inviting me, and on behalf of DBT Star College scheme, I would like to welcome today's guest, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker, and I don't want to take much time because I'm eagerly waiting to really visit, although it's called virtual, but I'm damn sure with his effort and all the plan what we all make,
Sir, Gauri ma'am ko bana do co-host.
definitely we will have a real feel, although with virtual visit. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and for organizing this, and I congratulate all the organizing member team. Thank you so much, and have a great, enjoyable tour ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your worthy words. Now I request Dr. Shushma Sharma, ma'am, to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker.
Thank you, Nupur. A very good morning to everyone. It's my privilege to introduce our eminent speaker of the day, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker, who is curator and researcher at the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust Center for Herpetology. Sir has done Diploma in Wildlife Management and Bachelor's of Environmental Science at the Charles Darwin University, Australia. He is currently pursuing PhD degree from Annamalai University. Sir has published over 30 research articles on topic ranging from captive husbandry of king cobras, incubation techniques for Kilonian turtles, and tortoises' eggs, parental care in crocodilians, and thermal selection in reptiles. His interests lie in dealing with human-crocodile conflict in Tamil Nadu and other states, for which he has received a grant from United Nations Development Programme's Global Environmental Fund. He is also member of so many prestigious international societies. He is editor of many pioneering international and national journals, namely Journal of Contemporary Herpetology, Journal of Threatened Taxa, Journal of Animal Diversity, Journal of the Bombay Natural History Society. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and taking out time from your busy schedule for this exciting virtual visit of Crocodile Bank. Now, I would request our eminent speaker to take lead and start the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, it is also a very sunny day over here, maybe too sunny. Summer is starting. It's getting a bit hot. But yes, so of course, as voiced before, the ideal situation would be a physical tour of the bank. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, that is not possible. So I'm going to try and do my best to introduce you to this place, show you a bit of the animals here, why we do what we do, some of the research concepts, the education concepts we do here, and a little bit also about, along the way, about reptile biology. So I will start sharing the screen. Please let me know if I am visible. The screen is visible, rather.
Yes, it is visible.
It's visible?
Yes, it is.
Thanks. Okay, excellent. Yes, so I said, as we said, it's a virtual tour, and we shall be covering maybe most of the enclosures that we house the animals in here, so you can see it as a viewer here. And yes, some inputs on reptile biology, conservation, threats, etc. I seem to have lost my video. Okay, sorry, I'm a little bit technologically not so good. I seem to have lost the links to the pictures. If you could just give me 1 minute, let me try and fix this. Okay, I think I will just close the PowerPoint and restart. Apologies. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay. So this is the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust. This is a drone shot of the area. And yes, you can see it from here. So we have about
Sir, so your screen is not visible. Please share your screen.
okay.
Yes, sir, it's visible now, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay. So yes, this is, as I said, a drone image of the Crocodile Bank. We have, apart from being Madras Crocodile Bank Center for Herpetology, we also have here in this area about 120 species of trees, maybe about 40 species of creepers, 30 species of herbs, some of them the medicinal ones, which have medicinal use. And yes, so you can see the general layout of the area. But given that we have about 90% green cover, it's not much of the area is visible. We shall try to rectify that. Okay. So these are some of the tree species we have here labeled. This is actually our entrance gate. So you can imagine that you're actually virtually here. So of course, you all must know what the Neem Tree is. It has many medicinal uses, Ayurveda and so on. It's the Indian tulip. People, Ficus regalis, yeah. And this is our Cuban crocodile enclosure. So critically endangered species. And as you move forward, we come to what we call Turtle Haven. So this is a room to basically showcase some of the more common species as well as the more endangered and even critically endangered species. found in India. So here first we have the Indian flapshot turtle, Lysimys punctata, previously thought to be one species. It is now separated into 3 species based on molecular analysis. And you can see what most reptiles are seen doing on a sunny day is basking in the sun. Needless, without going into too much detail, not all reptiles have to bask in the sun. We have a lot of the ground-dwelling species, such as the Euro-pelted snakes, which are fossorial. So yes, these are of interest because they are under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, which gives them the highest level of protection. So the Wildlife Protection Act has basically this status reflects what the species was experiencing at the time of the inception of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which was the trade of this species and several others in hundreds and thousands of numbers. And with fears of it not being sustainable, given the highest protection, they have bounced back nicely though. They have a very good population in both in captivity in zoos and also in the wild. So these are basically ambush feeders. They they burrow themselves in the bottom of the sand, and they feed on crabs, insects, mollusks, prawns, various fishes, etc. So they'll just be in the sand with only their eyes and snout visible. They can stay underwater for a long time. And when something passes by, they're able to just reach out their neck and just grab it. And as you can see, the neck is pretty extended. So they have a pretty good ambush strategy. From the husbandry viewpoint, you can see the black mesh in the enclosure. That's for them to actually use to assist themselves to climb out of the water. So they have small claws on their feet. So they use those to get out of the water. Otherwise, sometimes the algae is a little bit slippery. Next, we have the tent turtle, Punctura tentoria. It's from the Ganges River and its tributaries in North India. It's not found here. They also suffer somewhat because they're small and found in large numbers in some places. So we'll talk about this more, but in the pet trade, these are targeted very much. And now with the internet revolution, everything has become a lot more complicated because everything's gone underground, and it's all by email, WhatsApp, etc. So people are able to do this illegal trading a lot easier. sorry. These are Travancore tortoises, one of several endemic species to India, endemic in that you don't find them anywhere else. So they're only found in the Western Ghats in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. We have been breeding this species for a couple of decades now, and we're actually the only zoo in the world that has been able to breed this species. So this species was actually synonymized with a species which is known as Indo-Testudo forsteni now, which is from Sulawesi. So it is believed that the Sulawesi population was transferred to India by people for eating and pets, etc. But now we know that actually this is not the case. This is an endemic species only found in the Western Ghats. So this is Indo-Testudo travancorica, named after the Travancore region. And we have the Indo-Testudo forsteni, which we now know is only found in Sulawesi. These are pretty crepuscular animals, in the sense that you would have most activity, of course, at dawn and dusk. And on field surveys in Kerala, well, to find these individuals is really difficult because they like to burrow under leaf litter. So they're tortoises, right? They're not aquatic. So sometimes we'd find them under a meter of leaf litter. And we spent 2 weeks in a mother-child division in Kerala, and came up with like 6 individuals. And this was with maybe about 40 to 50 man hours per day search. And we were covering maybe 8 to 10 kilometers a day. But yeah, they're very difficult to find, very, very cryptic animals, which is maybe part of the reason they're still around. And I don't think they're so clearly visible. But this is the red-crowned roof turtle, Batago kachuga. Bred for the first time in captivity here at the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust. Yeah, there's one, you can kind of see it, kind of. Yeah, so there's probably less than 500 of these individuals left in the wild. And that's largely because we have a specific target towards females, because females grow huge, which also means they take a longer time to mature, about 15 years, whereas males mature at about 3 to 4 years. Also, there's like a lot of other river turtles, a major case of sexual size dimorphism. Males only get up to about 5 kilos, 6 kilograms, whilst females get up to 30 kilograms. So that's 30 kilograms, so a lot bigger. So that's maybe to be able to produce the eggs, be able to hold the eggs. And so yes, the females are targeted because of their larger size. And that's largely for the meat. And that's what's made them, rightly so, put into Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, and also under IUCN, they're classified as critically endangered. Okay, this is here, this is the, again, you can't really see, but this is the Ganges soft-shell turtle. Nilsonia gangetica, formerly known as Aspiderides gangetica. It's a common mistake to call them gangeticus, the species name, but that's wrong because that name alone belongs to Gaveus gangeticus, the gharial. So gangetica is the difference. Now these are incredible animals. They grow up to 2 meters long. Our biggest female weighs about 90 kilograms. And with regards to handling them in captivity or capturing them in the wild, you have, for research purposes, you'll have to be really careful because they are able to really really bite. I mean, their neck just comes out, and then they bite, and then they grab and they take what they have gotten. So yeah, it's a bit dangerous handling them. But these also were part of the Ganga, the government of India's Ganga river cleanup plan. There were five species of chelonians. When we say chelonians, that means both turtles and tortoises. Released about 10,000 of this species and others into the system because they're essentially scavengers. They're also known to even take down prey like blue wool and feed in congregations. Now this is the northern river terrapin, or Badagur. It's also another critically endangered species. We're one of 3 captive centers in the world breeding them. And there's an interesting story behind this, in that Jay Vijaya, who used to work here and was probably one of the first woman herpetologists in India in the 1980s. Excuse me. She in 1988 bought 2 females from the Howrah market in West Bengal, at that time was a major hub for selling of these turtles for food and purported medicinal purposes, which is all nonsense. So these 2 females for several years did not have a male, and then in 2014, after the relevant documents were acquired, the Director General of Foreign Trade, Central Zoo Authority, CITES, etc., we actually got a male from Zoo Vienna in Austria. And yes, so that in 2016, they started breeding, and we have over 30 individuals now. And they're slated for a repatriation program in Odisha. And of course, that's on hold for now due to the pandemic, but hopefully we'll get there one day. Now, this is an interesting species of crocodile. This is the Tomastoma shregali, found in Southeast Asia, major areas of occurrence in Kalimantan, in Masingat Lake. So it's a swamp-dwelling species. It grows up to 4.5 meters. Males grow up to 4.5 meters or more. In crocodiles, it's a standard fact that males do grow bigger than females. So yeah, this animal is from Sarawak and was bought here in 1983. He's a male, and we have, it's not visible, but we have him paired with a female. On the pond is split in half, and the female is on the other side, and there's fencing that separates them. So they get to smell each other, they get to see each other, but they cannot interact with one another. Why? Because maybe his name will give you an idea. His name is Psycho. Okay? Psycho. So the female on the other side, we tried to pair with him, and he bit her pretty badly. So we had to separate them. So that's why he's called Psycho. But hopefully one day he will realize that this is not like a intruding animal. She's a female, and hopefully soon they'll be friends. And we can be one of the few zoos in the world that have successfully bred this species. And another misnomer is that the species is actually called the false gharial, whereas molecular studies have found that they're actually more related to crocodiles rather than gharials. And they actually, gharials are piscivorous for the most part, although we know now that from observations on the Chambal by our field operations there, that they actually also eat soft-shell turtles. The Tomostoma eats not only fish, but they also prey on small mammals. And there's even been some instances of them attacking people. So this is the critically endangered gharial. We'll talk about a gharial ecology project a bit later, but this is essentially, in 2004 at the IUCN Species Survival Commission Crocodile Specialist Group meeting, this species was upgraded to critically endangered because of survey data that revealed that populations had declined a lot. Furthermore, in 2007, there was a die-off of about 120 adults, subadults on the Chambal River, which is of course catastrophic when you have a species which has only about 500 left. But now, thanks to law enforcement on the Chambal River, it's a tri-state sanctuary. So Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh forest departments manage this area. Of course, sometimes not a very easy area to work in, because of various criminal elements and sand mining mafia, etc. Populations seem to have recovered. And this is our underwater gharial exhibit. This is Garfield, one of our first captive bred gharial here. He was born in 1991. It's about 3 meters long. And this is probably the only place in India you can see this. So we've done used this animal for a fair amount of research, particularly with regards to apnea, or how long you can stay underwater. So volunteers have documented that, I mean, it's even up to 2 hours you can stay underwater. But as as Professor was saying earlier, I mean, crocodiles have a four-chambered heart, similar to humans, and it's quite an incredible heart in that it's able to, crocodiles are able to dive and then go into a state called bradycardia, which means reducing the heartbeat, and that goes down to like 1 beat per minute, and they can use that advantage to also supply blood to the more important organs, such as the lungs, kidneys, the brain, and shunt it off to other more or less necessary areas. Now, this is a whole entire different concept. This is the water monitor. It's found in West Bengal and Odisha and the Andaman Islands. The species in the Andaman Islands would probably be a different species from the mainland. So maybe one day we will have Varanus salvator on the mainland and Varanus andamanensis, as have been proposed by some researchers earlier. There are probably, I mean, compared with the Komodo dragon, maybe the biggest, the longest species of lizard in the world, with a record from Sri Lanka of about near 10 feet long. So yes, these guys are also on the Schedule 1, also because of largely their meat, and also the skin is also used for a variety of purposes. The tin sheets you see on the metal sheets you see on the tree are to prevent them from climbing higher than this place where they are at this point, because once they get to a higher location, that connects to trees which are outside the enclosure, and they would escape pretty fast. Very intelligent, very nice animals. Now, this is an exotic reptile from South America. This is the dwarf caiman, Paleosulcus palpebrosus. The sister species is Paleosulcus trigonatus, or Schneider's dwarf caiman. And they make something called mound nests, like saltwater crocodiles do. So essentially what the females are doing is basically scraping leaf litter together to make a mound, like a megapode nest. Maybe not as big, but yes, leaf litter, twigs, sand, etc. And they lay the eggs within them. What we found in this population, at least in captivity, where we have 1 male and 6 females in this enclosure, is that up to 4 females will lay in the same nest, which could be a strategy to better for survival of the nest and the eggs and the resulting hatchlings, because you have 4 females guarding it as opposed to 1, because 1 is the norm. That's in, for example, in saltwater crocodiles, which are a completely different species as compared to dwarf caimans and marsh crocodiles, gharial. Saltwater crocodiles are very intolerant of other saltwater crocodiles in the area. And also there's been reports of saltwater crocodiles predating on marsh crocodiles in Sri Lanka. So they're very solitary animals. So you'd find nests maybe 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers apart. You would not have a situation where you would have 3 or 4 females sharing the same nest. So in general, you can categorize different species based on temperament. And of course, that also has something to do with keeping them in captivity, of course. You're looking at pairing animals, for example. If you got a 4-meter long male saltwater crocodile and maybe 3-meter long female, you could not just release them in the enclosure together, because quite likely the next day the female will be dead. They take a long time to habituate to one another. And we were talking about the tomostoma and the division of the pond. And that's how we've managed to do this with several of our breeding pairs of saltwater crocodiles. So they get to see each other, smell each other. Of course, they have the musk glands underneath the throat, which secrete these hormones. So that also is their way of communication, and maybe long distance communication. Of course, this stuff is difficult to understand and study, but only when they do seem to be, how do you say, compatible with one another, do we remove these barriers and let them be together. Yeah, that can take some time. So moving on, we're looking at some of the, this is our interpretation center. And we're looking at some of the skulls of the animals that we've had over here. And yes, of course, as we know, they're quite interesting in that they have, except for very old individuals, tooth replacement occurs. So tooth replacement occurs even if teeth are not broken. So throughout life, teeth are reformed and polyps keep coming up, unlike us and other mammals. And yes, these are marsh crocodiles or mugger crocodiles. Initially in 1976, this was the main reason to start this place, the Crocodile Bank, was to create a genetic repository of all 3 Indian species, including these guys here, marsh crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles, and the critically endangered gharial. So we began breeding the marsh crocodile in 1976, and over 500 have been supplied to the Tamil Nadu Forest Department and other forest departments for repatriation in various protected areas. But that has stopped now. There is no more repatriation, except in the case of the gharial, which is still critically endangered. So at the beginning, when things were really bad in the 1970s for all 3 species, the mugger, which is the most widely distributed and adaptable of crocodiles in India, had several rearing stations in protected areas where they were bred and eggs were hatched. And it was essentially called the grow and release program. So they're grown to a point where they're not prey to anything from fish to snakes to other animals when they're hatchlings. So they're grown to about 1 meter. So that's about 3 feet, 3.5 feet, and then released. But that is, of course, since the 1990s, we've stopped breeding this species and as have these rearing centers because there's no place for release anymore. Because we come to a point where there's a lot of political opposition to the reintroduction of these animals, repatriation, reintroduction, whatever. And yes, so the recovery of this species also was related to an increase in human-wildlife conflict, human-crocodile interactions, or human-crocodile conflict. Not so much in Tamil Nadu, but in the states of Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, we have a lot of conflicts with the crocodiles. So, I mean, naturally, people are not going to be happy to have crocodiles put back into their habitat when there are already crocodiles there, and the crocodiles eating livestock, pets, people sometimes, whether it's a fatal or non-fatal attack, you know. And of course, compensation varies between states. It's a quite a conservation dilemma. I mean, you have brought back the species into the wild in a healthy population, but in the 1970s, maybe, I think we had maybe 700 million people, and now we have some 1.4 billion. So increase in population and increase in marsh crocodile population. And also the fact that a lot of the rural population of India depends on water bodies and rivers for whatever it is, grazing, water abstraction, irrigation, and that puts them in contact with crocodiles. So it's a problem. One that's probably not going to go away very soon. This is just an example of one of our more highly densely stocked pens, where animals were released into the wild from. With the marsh crocodiles, you can keep some species alongside with them, you know, up to a point where they're subadults, and you don't, such as the Siamese crocodile and Nile crocodile. We also have them in this enclosure. They're compatible with one another, but once they reach adulthood, you don't want to have them together because that causes the likelihood of getting hybrids is very high. And yes, another exotic species. These are Algebra tortoises, which came from the Prague Zoo as really small, maybe 1 kilo, 2 kilogram individuals, and now they're like maybe our biggest male is 92 kilograms. These are interesting species because we always say tortoises cannot swim, right? And for the most part, that is true. If you put a star tortoise, for example, if a person bought a star tortoise and put it in an aquarium with water, it would drown because they're terrestrial. But these guys are terrestrial, but they're also known on the Algebra Atoll to be able to swim between islands. So I think that's quite adaptation there. Where they're found, they're the major, apart from people, they don't have many threats. But yeah, from the 1600s, ships visiting these islands would collect maybe 10 or 15 of large individuals, because they can survive for sometimes for a long time without water and in poor conditions on a ship, and they can be used as food also. Of course, you have to realize this was a few centuries ago. But yeah, so we've had these animals here, and we've also had our first batch of eggs last year. If I can remember correctly, 24 of them. They're about the size of a tennis ball, and female had buried them about 1 meter underneath the sand. But yeah, they were unfortunately all infertile, but that's usually the case in reptiles when the first clutch is laid. And then subsequent clutches, you get more fertile eggs. Fertile eggs as in eggs containing developing embryo that survives to the point of hatching. Yes, and so this is a very momentous occasion. This was actually Christmas of last year. Sorry, Christmas of the year before last. And yeah, here are 4 of the eggs which have been collected. Incubation period, or the time for the eggs to take to hatch in this species, is about 200 days. And in crocodiles, it's pretty standard, 60 to 100 days. But in turtles and tortoises, it varies a lot. For example, red-crowned roof turtle, maybe 50 or 60 days at high temperatures, they would hatch. Whereas the Ganges soft shell, which we talked about earlier, takes about a year for the eggs to develop. Yeah. And this is one of our larger saltwater crocodiles, male called Thor. It's about 4.2 meters long. He's been captured and restrained to a ladder for the purpose of transfer to another enclosure. You can see the ropes and gunny sacks to make sure that the ropes don't bite into his skin. And of course, the major thing when catching large crocodiles is the major worry, rather, is the buildup of the lactic acidosis. Yeah. So they basically fight when they're caught with the noose. They fight until the point where they're very fatigued. So capture has to be done efficiently, and the team has to work together fast to get the animal onto ladder, restrained, and move to the other enclosure. Yes, this is an example of the same individual in his new enclosure, which I think we have a shot of him feeding here. Now, despite the fact that he's 4.2 meters, he's very fast in the water, but even so on land, which is why this is sort of in slow motion. Otherwise, it would be difficult to see what was happening. So this is, a very large crocodile moving very fast on land. And yes, pretty scary. Yeah, so you can see that he's big, of course, and you can also see behind the head we have what we call the post-occipital scales, and on the neck behind the head we have what we call the post-occipital scales, and on the neck we have the nuchal scales. So for the most part, each species can be differentiated by the patterns of these large scales behind the head and on the neck. Post-occipital scales are absent in this species. It's the only species that does not have them. Yes, sometimes during summer, 3 of our ponds remain to be natural aquifers. So they actually, water levels go down and it gets very hot, even in the water, with air temperatures at about 35, 40 degrees and water temperatures in about 31, 32. So we sometimes supplement this with water from one of our wells, just to make a smaller cooler gradient for which animals can move towards too. Now, this is a natural aquifer, and this is a gharial breeding enclosure where we have 1 male and 7 females. And yes, a couple of 100 turtles which live peacefully with them. And yes, but with the rate and the pace of development on the coast of the east coast of Tamil Nadu, the number of hotels and residences, etc., we might sometime in the future be breaking the freshwater lens, which means saline water would come into these natural aquifers. That would not be probably suitable for gharials, so we will have to then move them and put them in a concrete pond and provide them with fresh water. On that note, a lot of visitors ask us, because they're called saltwater crocodiles, is the water inside the enclosures salt water? No, it's fresh water. Because actually, though they are tolerant to salt to some extent, they have the mechanisms, like several other species do, on the tongue and the cloacal region to excrete salt. But it's a lot less stress in the system to be in fresh water, because they don't need to be actively doing this, which is pretty physiologically high demanding. Also, females nest in largely in freshwater areas, swamps, for example, because the babies, or we call the hatchlings, whilst having these salt excretion glands, have not had them developed to an extent where they can tolerate, say, ocean water, whatever, 30, 35 parts per thousand, or even brackish 20. So yeah. And yes, this is, I believe, an integral part of any zoo is zoo exchange. That is, you give animals to another zoo and you get new species in your collection. So this is a capture of, this is it's bagging some of our green anacondas to take to send to another zoo. That's a safe way to do it, is to use a bagger. This is basically a metal rod with a circle welded on the end, and you can see the green bag has knots on it. So you basically tie it around there and then pick up the snake with the hook and then put it inside and then twist it and close it. Safe for the snake, safe for the person. Now, yeah, unfortunately, snake rescue has become somewhat of, how to say, a symbol of strength or machoism, whatever you may call it. So a lot of rescuers do not rescue snakes right, in the sense that you can really injure them very easily if you're not doing it the right way. For example, just one example, for example, a lot of people use nooses to capture snakes they're more scared of, like larger snakes like the king cobras. And that is detrimental to the animal's health. You're probably going to be maybe breaking some vertebrae there, which is why a lot of king cobras caught from the wild do not survive in captivity. So yeah, techniques like using the bagger is a lot better. Another exotic species we have here, also endangered one, is Komodo Dragons. In the foreground, we have Thor, the Komodo Dragon, and in the background is Shaheen, and they're separated by a gate. Yeah. And the reason for that separation and why they're not kept together is because sometimes they really fight, and seriously fight. And then it's up to human intervention to stop that. And Komodo dragons are not like normal lizards, as someone described it. Lizards like the water monitor and the Bengal monitor, when seeing a human, will run away from you. Yeah. These guys, not so much. When they're adults, they'll come towards you. You're basically prey. It's not that you're human, you're prey. So a lot of work goes into working with these animals, getting in the enclosure, of course, wearing necessary safety gear, and doing enrichment and training sessions with them. They're incredibly smart animals, and it's, of course, incredibly important to make them realize that we're not prey items. So they're sort of looking at each other through the grill mesh. They are sexually mature now, so maybe in the near future we will consider pairing them together. Yes, and so here we have we're doing one of the training sessions. Yeah, that's me and our previous assistant curator, Ambika. And yeah, you can see that the attire we wear when we're in there is always jeans and shoes or boots. You can't be too careful with these guys. And also the Y stick. Y stick is basically a stick with the Y-shaped thing at the ends, which is used to manipulate and control the animal. And this is Thor again in his enclosure with us. And yeah, so we have a lot of experience with these animals, and they've come to know somewhat that we're here to feed them and be friends with them, and we're not a threat to them, and that it's not okay to charge us as if we were a prey item. Nevertheless, reptiles, people say, I have a pet snake, like a 15, 20-foot python and all that. They're not pets. They live on instinct, which is why, I mean, for example, I don't know, the countless number of times we hear about people getting bitten by snakes because they're being careless. For example, they've handled a rodent or something or a prey item. The snake smells the prey item on the person, it strikes. It's not the snake's fault. So yeah, not pets. I'd say I'd more call this habituation. It's not right. I don't think we'd ever be in a situation where we'd pick up the animals like a pet dog or something and carry it around. No, that would be asking for trouble. This is another instance of enrichment and training. This is the only captive bred alligator in India, the American alligator, which from Florida, South Carolina, Texas, Louisiana, in the United States. They also have a cousin called the Chinese alligator, which lives in fairly fragmented populations in agricultural landscapes in China. And yeah, so here we're basically, this individual responds to different commands. She understands different commands. So she's able to, when you tell her to stay, she will stay. And you can tell her to come, and then she'll come towards you. And then you give her a treat to reward her. So they understand voice commands. I mean, every day we learn so much more about them, and they're so, not like 50 years ago when we thought they were just stupid animals with very limited intelligence. They're very smart, actually. There she's staying. Yeah, that's the reward. Okay, so on to our unlike most zoos, we have what we call field stations in the Andaman Islands, in Karnataka, in the Agumbay region, and on the Chambal with the Garfield Ecology Project. So this is ANET, or the Andaman and Nicobar's Environmental Team, about 30 kilometers from Port Blair, situated nearby the Wandoor Wildlife Sanctuary. This is just some of the endemic species from the islands, which you can see. On top left, we have Andaman's cat snake, Poiga andamanensis. And on the right, we have the giant gecko, Gecko baroxi. We have several species if yet to be described, geckos, and also agamids. These are all actually found within the base itself, within the 5 acres. And next we have the Agumbay Rainforest Research, which is it's a unique area in that we have so many different types of habitats. You have myrtaceous swamps, grassland, secondary forest, primary forest, a large amount of leaf litter, which holds a lot of different reptiles, not just reptiles, different spiders, and small mammals. This is just some of the species that we find there. The Brookside lizard, Chrysophilia ornata, the flying snake, Vigiachalis sylvatica, the cane turtle, which has been reported from here once, but not found again. And the Trimeresurus carmineus, the green pit viper. And yeah, a lot of other species which are endemic to the area. So the emphasis is not really only on the study of reptiles here. So everything from socioeconomic studies to river ecology, to afforestation projects. So, and the station is also, the field station is also involved in snake rescue. So you get about 200 snake rescues a year. We have a hotline here, and the field director there, Ajay Giri, and team go about a 200-kilometer radius around here, and capturing everything from king cobras, which this place is famous for, and the spectacle cobras, rat snakes, and even rock pythons on occasion. So the main thing I guess we associate ARS for is our long-term studies on king cobras using telemetry. We've found data on home ranges, and since you have to be in the vicinity of the animal using radio telemetry, observations on foraging, on predation, on interactions with other king cobras, the male king cobras and other species also do this incredible male combat thing where they are actually trying to push each other over by holding up 4 or 5 feet off the ground and basically pushing down on each other. And what we think is the one that eventually goes away has sort of lost the battle, and the one that stays there is kind of, yeah, he's like the dominant male for the area. Yeah, and our studies extended into reproductive biology. We were able to monitor nests of the species. The interesting fact is, unlike any other snake in the world, these guys make nests just using their body. They don't have hands and feet like crocodilians do to make nests. But yeah, just with their body, the females make a mound nest and lay the eggs within there. She stays also inside the nest, and yeah, sometimes for the duration of the incubation period, but most of the time she leaves in about after 2 weeks of laying eggs. And yes, so the eggs take about 60 to 70 days to incubate. And why she leaves is postulated to be because maybe she would cannibalize the hatchlings that came out of the eggs. So incredible place, along with 10 meters of rainfall per annum. Okay. There's this one thing we missed. I apologize, it's on another slide. So this is, yes, sorry about that. This is the gharial. This is the only species of crocodile. You can visually tell males from females. Although, as we said earlier, males grow much bigger than females. So if we saw a very large individual of a given species, then that would be a male, most likely. But yes, so the gutta, which develops at about 10 years of age in males, in male gharials, is a indicator that it's a male. Females do not have these. So yeah, males mature at about 10 years, females a little earlier. Yes, as we were saying, it's a critically endangered species. And our team on the Chambal, the Gharial Ecology Project, has been working since 2008 on studying these animals using both radio telemetry and satellite telemetry to understand the biology of the animals, and the seasonal migrations have been found. I mean, they travel sometimes 100 and 150 kilometers every year downstream, sometimes to feeding grounds, and then females will go back upstream to ancestral nesting sites. So yes, and of course, also a lot of work has been done on parental care. It's been found that actually larger males, the dominant males, will hang around the nesting sites at the hatching season, and will look after sometimes 10 or 15 nests. That means about 300, 400 hatchlings, and he'll take care of them. They, I've seen pictures of them basking on top of the male's head, and even on top of the gutta. And yeah, he will look after them, and until they reach a size where they are able to liberate themselves and live an individual life. A lot of the evidence is also being collected by the use of using camera traps, because one thing about crocodiles, and maybe other animals too, is that when you're observing them, they're observing you right back. So it's a bit of a lacuna there. So using camera traps, you can get sort of independent observations on particular interesting periods like these, the nesting and hatchlings season. And yes, I think that's it. So thank you.
Well, that was a bunch of immense knowledge and interesting facts about reptiles. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule to take us to this exciting virtual excursion around the park. It was really very interesting to see these gigantic and ferocious reptiles. Also, feedback form link has been shared in the chat box. I request everyone to fill the form to obtain the e-certificates. Thank you, Aditya. Now I request our teachers if they want to ask any questions or interact with our guest speaker. I think no one has questions. So let's move forward. So with your permission, sir, can I take up the questions from chat box?
Sure. Please.
So we have bunch of questions.
Yeah, I can see there is quite a bunch of questions here.
Yes, sir. So first question is from Drishti. Good morning, sir. The problem of endangered species of turtles such as red ear sliders are ravaging the native terrapin populations. What is your stance on handling this issue?
Well, it's good for if you're doing it responsibly. It's good. It's good to you can keep these animals in captivity. Yeah, but for what happens most times, red-eared sliders are caught as bought as babies from a pet shop, and then they get big, and then people don't want them anymore, and they release them into the nearest aquatic environment. And it's not just India; it's global. And from cases studies from Europe have found that actually red-eared sliders are very bad for local populations. They compete for basking sites. They spread parasites that these local species are not have never been exposed to. So it's all about responsible pet keeping. And yeah, I would think it would just be best to not allow that. But as we said, it's a difficult thing. It's a complex issue. There's many loopholes, and so. But for the environment, it's not good.
Okay, so next question is from Sukanya. Sir, do you send some animals back to their natural habitat after you have good number of members after breeding?
So that was really for the marsh crocodile, the mugger crocodile, and not so much recently. We do not have much rehabilitation programs, but as we talked about, there is a proposal that might go through to send the river terrapins, Badagur, Baska, back to sites of where they're found naturally in Odisha. And we also have plans of collaborating with the Pradesh Forest Department, as we have done in the past, and sending red-crowned roof turtles that have been captive bred here back to the Chambal River for repatriation. As
So
we
next-
talked about it, sorry. Yeah.
So shall I continue? Okay, sir.
Sure.
Next question is from Soumya. Even though the crocodile has a strong bite, the muscles that open their jaws are not that powerful, and a reasonably strong human could hold their jaw closed with their bare hands. So, sir, what is the reason behind it?
It's a fact. I don't know what the reason behind it is. But when capturing and restraining crocodiles, you certainly do realize that, because the bite force is recorded at about 3,000 pounds square inch or something like that. So that's a very, very heavy. You would not want to get bitten. So yes, when it is training the animals, you do realize that actually once the animal is in position and you're closing the jaws, that it's very easy to do that. You can just close it with one hand and then hand it to like the person who is restraining their head. And then that's when we put the rubber bands on the snout, which makes them safe to handle. True.
So next question is from Ishika. why is only anterior part, mouth of crocodile is green in color?
The mouth is green in color.
Yes, sir. The question is, why is only anterior part, in brackets, mouth of crocodile is green in color?
I actually have not seen that, but maybe in some environments where there's a heavy algal load, maybe they will, that could be the reason.
Sir, should I take more questions or you have like short of time?
No, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay, thanks, sir. Next question is from Sanskriti. Sir, how long do crocodile eggs take to incubate?
Anything between 60 to 100 days. It's temperature dependent, as is gender. Higher temperatures, shorter incubation period, lower temperatures, longer incubation period. Also, as previously mentioned, my professor, of course, yeah, it's universally known in all 23, no, now we have 26 species of crocodiles, that temperature determines the gender of the offspring. So lower temperatures usually produce females, mid temperatures males, and then you have high temperature females. And temperature also, the incubation temperature they've experienced also relates to the studies have found that it also relates to the thermal preferences that they choose once they hatch, and even when they go into as adults, they maintain their core body temperature similar to what their incubation temperature was. Yeah.
Okay, so next, and I think last question is from our Dr. Gauri Nandi ma'am. So why and what to train these wild reptiles?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Dr. Gauri Nandi ma'am had asked, sir, why and what to train these wild animals? Like what to train these crocodiles in?
Okay, why?
Yes, sir.
Well,
I repeat the question, sir. Why and what to train these wild animals?
Well, it's partly so with these enrichment and training programs with crocodilians, you can get to the point where, apart from getting the animal more habituated to people, so it doesn't come running at you immediately when you get in the enclosure, although most crocodiles do run away. You can actually get to the stage where you can get them onto a platform and you can actually collect blood from the tail vein, okay? Without having to restrain the animal, right? And that's particularly important in studies looking at, say, biochemical and hematology standard values for different species. Because once you capture the animal, changes are happening very fast due to the capture myopathy. But this way, you're getting blood from an unstressed, unharassed, unrestrained individual. You can also train them to go into crates. So if you have a crate with a sliding door, you can habituate them to going into there. So they go inside and you give them a piece of meat and it's a reward. So they associate this going into the crate with getting a reward. So again, you don't have to capture the animal. So it goes into the crate, the sliding door is closed, and then it's transported to another enclosure or whatever. So that's just a couple of examples.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering all the questions and the queries to the satisfaction of the audiences. And I'm sorry we can't take up more. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I just have one more. I just see one more question I'd like to answer.
Okay, sir.
From Drishti about human crocodile conflict in the Andamans. The government is promoting it as a tourist site. See, so we tried to address this in 2018. We had a meeting with all of the stakeholders about what to do with saltwater crocodiles in the Andamans. Yes, they're big animals. Yes, they consider people prey. Yes, fishing also has to be done. Livelihoods also have to be done. There's also the tourism department. And it's a very, it's not something that can be addressed with this one meeting or I even can't address it. I can only discuss the issues around that. And one thing is that the main thing is that the islands depend on tourism for income, right? We're not just talking about resorts. We're talking about everything from taxi drivers to vendors to petty shops, everything. So if the islands are portrayed as a place where crocodiles are regularly attacking people, of course, it's not good for tourism. But on the other hand, they're protected species. They're under Schedule 1. There were we were debating various ways of mitigating this. One was to develop a captive center, right? And bring them into captivity. But that's not as easy as we think it is, as we talked about. Sometimes crocodiles are not compatible. So you cannot just build a wall, put a pond, and throw crocodiles inside together. They will kill each other, right? So that has to be understood. Secondly is, as is done in some countries with saltwater crocodiles, such as Indonesia, problem crocodiles are crocodiles that are known to have killed or bitten someone very badly, are shot. So is that the way to go? That's completely against I believe, against our constitution and our sentiments and basically our countries. So euthanasia, probably not. So it's not going to go away. It's a question of people having to deal with the situation and staying safe in crocodile habitat. Another thing that people have done is translocate the animals. And that just makes it worse, because they're able to come back, and they're trying to come back to where they were captured from, right? And that sometimes takes, depending on the distance, a lot of effort. And so you have a crocodile that is moving back towards its original capture site. It's a hungry crocodile. And on the way, if it passes through human habitation and there happens to be recreational water activities happening, there might be an attack. And else, they're trying to come back, and there are already resident populations of saltwater crocodiles, and they're very territorial, as we talked about. So then the animal that gets translocated gets cannibalized by the boss crocodile that already owns the patch of mangroves that he's come to. So yeah, it's just a lot of room for discussion there. No real solution.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Shall we wrap up, ma'am? Sushma, ma'am? Okay, so let's move forward. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Now I request Dr. Manisha Sengar, ma'am, to present the e-memento to our honorable guest speaker, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Very nice interacting with you all. And
Thank you, sir. We also enjoyed seeing the reptiles, sir. It was very nice.
thank you.
Thank you, sir, for taking out time.
And I hope in the near future, I don't know the way things are going, maybe not so near, but I hope we can have a actual non-virtual visit here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That will be very great if that could work out, sir, in near future. Yes, sir. Please, Nupur, please continue.
Actually, Manisha ma'am is not able to unmute. Please look at the mat.
She can unmute herself. Manisha ma'am.
Okay, thank you, because I was unmuted and I couldn't I was muted and I couldn't unmute myself, and also the video could not be switched on. So I'm really sorry for keeping you waiting, Dr. Nikhil. It was a nice experience. You joined us, there are so many. I got so many messages also. Yes. That it was an amazing and a very fascinating experience. Thank you for accepting our invite. And we are really honored to have you here on this platform. And everybody from all the colleges of Delhi University have also joined. And the teachers are also writing that it was a very fascinating experience. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time and joining here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I realized it's like about 220 people. I think this is the biggest...
There were 237 at one time, because they have classes also. Today is a working day, so that was an issue today. So had it been a Saturday, we would have got nearly maybe more than 350. But they have classes, they have practicals also, Dr. Nikhil. So that was an issue. So, but still, 237, I saw the number.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Give me maybe 2 or 3 months before the doctorate title. I just submitted my thesis and I have my viva in I think 2 months, and hopefully then.
Thank you, and all the best for your thesis and your viva.
Thank you.
We'll get back to you again. Thank you for the nice experience. And we'll get back to you again, and please do come over.
Please.
Thank you. So much. Thank you from everybody here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manisha ma'am. A heartfelt thanks to everyone for being part of this event. So moving to the last but most important part of this event, I request Dr. Rahul Jamwal sir to deliver a formal vote of thanks. To you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Sir, it was a treat to watch this animal in their natural habitat. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for this visit. I, Dr. Rahul Jamwal, on behalf of Department of Zoology, Deshbandhu College, would like to express my gratitude and appreciations to our eminent speaker, Mr. Nikhil Whitaker, sir, for giving his valuable time from his busy schedule and accepting our invitation, sir. Thank you, sir, for gracing the event and taking us on this virtual visit to Crocodile Bank. The visit was really interesting and enriching, and I'm sure the participants have enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much, sir, for putting your best effort for making this event very fruitful. We are highly obliged. I also convey my heartfelt gratitude to the administration of Crocodile Bank Trust Center for Herpetology to allow us to visit the bank virtually. Thank you so much, sir. I must thank our principal, sir, Professor Rajiv Agarwal, a humble, dynamic, and hardworking person under whose leadership our college is reaching new heights day by day. I also convey my sincere appreciation to our Vice Principal, sir, Professor Kamal Kumar Gupta, for gracing the occasion and encouraging us with his words of wisdom. I also extend my acknowledgement to Dr. Aditya Saxena, sir, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Indrakant, sir, DBT Star Scheme Coordinator, and all the faculty members of the Department of Zoology for their constant help and support for making this event a successful. A mention of special thanks also goes to our teacher in charge, ma'am, Manisha Sengar, ma'am, for being with us and guiding us. Ma'am, without your support and blessings, this event would not have been a success. Thank you so much, ma'am. My heartfelt gratitude also goes to Dr. Varsha Bhaveja, ma'am, from our own Department of Zoology for circulating the details of the event to social media. Thank you, ma'am. I also take the opportunity to thank Dr. Monica Bajaj, ma'am, from Computer Science Department for her technical support. She helped us throughout in conducting this webinar without any technical glitches. Last but not the least, I congratulate and thank our organizers of this event, Dr. Gauri ma'am, Dr. Kiran Bala ma'am, Dr. Shushma ma'am, and especially the student coordinators, Sajag, Nupur, Tanishka, Vishal, Rahul, Nitin, Aditya, for their untiring efforts to make this event a grand success. With a deep sense of appreciation, I thank all the faculty members, my colleagues, research scholars, students from Deshbandhu College, and also from other institutes for the active participation in this event. My sincere apologies if I have missed anyone. It's been a pleasure being with you all day. With due permission of our principal sir, vice principal sir, senior teachers, I would like to officially conclude the event. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day. Thank you, sir. And please fill the feedback forms also to ensure that you all have certificates. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Manisha ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
Kamal
you,
sir.
everyone.
Thank
so
you, ma'am.
much. Congratulations for the nice and a wonderful visit. It was a big success. Take care.
Thank
Okay,
you.
ma'am.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
ma'am, for the
Thank you, ma'am.
blessings. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nikhil,
Sushma
sir.
ma'am,
Thanks.
Gauri ma'am, Manisha
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Rahul.
Kiran ma'am,
Thank you,
Gauri ma'am.
Sushant, Kiran ma'am. Yeah, take care.
Thank you, Gauri ma'am. Thank you, students. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, students.
Thank you, students.
Thank you, students. Please fill the feedback forms to ensure that you all have a certificate for this event. Ma'am, should we end this meeting?
Yeah, we can end. Just a
Yes,
minute.
yes.
Wait
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the
Yes,
feedback
ma'am.
form. Maybe they are taking some. Maybe they have to, take some time out from the classes. They have to fill the form. So we'll have to
Ma'am.
wait for them.
Yes, ma'am. And we can open our windows, all the students, and we can take a photograph. I think Nikhil sir has left the meeting. We could have taken a photograph with them.
We could have, but we have taken. Some of the students have taken. Just
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I have already taken some screenshots, but the
even I
cameras.
have.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a minute. I'm posting the feedback form. Just a minute. We'll have to wait for some time.
Should we end the recording?
We can end the recordings.
Yes, yes. Please end the recording.
We can.
Right, ma'am. Prashant is writing, thank you for cancelling the practical. I think Pavitra ma'am has cancelled.
Oh my God, my friend from Shivaji, Nimita, Dr. Nimita Kant also joined, and she was saying very good work. And I'll just share. Nimita Kant here from Shivaji.
He has taught me, ma'am.
Yeah, she was saying very lovely and informative virtual tour. Good work. So Kanya ma'am from Ramjas College also, she was saying that it was a fascinating experience, a wonderful, amazing tour.
Yes, ma'am. Sukanya ma'am also written.
Yes, there are so many people who joined us.
Yes, ma'am.
We were 237 at one time.
Right, ma'am.
Then, because
Yes,
and
ma'am.
even
I
Aparna
think
from here.
Rahul sir, please stop the live streaming also.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Just a second, ma'am.
बेटा एक टाइम पे जब हमारे 237 239 थे पार्टिसिपेंट्स, उसका स्क्रीनशॉट है किसी के पास? बिकॉज अभी
यस
भी
मैम,
हमारे
यस मैम, मैं स्टार्टिंग से सारे स्क्रीनशॉट
उसका देखना जरा। हाँ, वो डाल देती हूँ मैं ग्रुप पे।
यस मैम, आई एम
ये
श्योर।
शताब और रॉकी सर, अगर एक बार अपना सारा वो कर लेना वीडियो ऑन जरा, इट विल बी रियली गुड। एक बार सारे बच्चे कर ले, सब लोग कर ले, तो एक बेटा एक बड़ा सा वो ले सकते हैं आप लोग, जितने भी हैं।